thought about what beauty is? Beauty is biology, and the human desire for beauty is genetically programmed. Beauty is a social currency that rewards the lucky beholder. Beauty is not one size fits all. Hi, I'm Dr. Monica Bonakdar. I'm an aesthetic medicine specialist practicing in Newport Beach, California. I'm the creator of Monbon Clinical Skincare and Amplify Filler Technique. You are listening to Beauty Heroes Podcast, where I chat candidly with trailblazing beauty leaders, examining, questioning, and challenging everything you thought you knew about beauty and the current beauty standards. My goal is to make beauty more inclusive and accessible to all aesthetically oriented men and women. All right, let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're here with Leilah Mundt, the founder of Crème Collective, a dear friend of mine, and I'm really excited to share her story with you. Welcome, Leilah.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
So are we. Okay, so first question. Tell me, what is Crème Collective?
Crème Collective is a beauty brand development agency. So we work to develop beauty brands, consult for beauty brands, create beauty brands, do creative services, and finally sell and distribute beauty brands.
Wow, that is
we do a lot
of work. So it's a beauty and lifestyle type of a company. Tell me, how did you decide to go into this business?
Do you want the honest truth?
Yes.
Okay. So the real story behind Crème Collective is that after about 15 years in beauty sales, meaning I was commissioned as a sales rep for different beauty brands, the honest truth is that I was disinterested in the brands that I was working with for the most part. And I saw that the most creativity and the most innovation was coming from a whole different space, which was people that were more interested in naturals and the power of plants and kind of digging into that world and sort of cleaning up beauty products a little bit more, like getting rid of the 90 to 99% junk and fillers and moving more into active naturals. I felt like that was where the industry was going. And alongside that, I just felt the entrepreneurial spirit, and I didn't want to work for any of the bigger companies anymore. I wanted to put all my passion into making a mark for the smaller guys that were just starting out.
Wow, that's a powerful story. So were you in medical skincare only during that 15 years, or was it medical and over-the-counter retail?
It was both. So I did delve into medical a little bit. I also worked for a mineral makeup brand called Jane Iredale that was sold in medical, but also sold at retail and spas. So I would say I definitely spent more time on the professional side than the retail side, working with estheticians and doctors like yourself. That's how we met.
Yes. So it's not just medical skincare that has non-clean, healthy stuff in it. You would say it's both medical and over-the-counter?
I actually think that medical is probably much cleaner than, if you think about typical self-care products, stuff that you are getting at CVS or Costco or like where people buy the majority of their personal care. It's like water and fillers and emulsifiers and binders and a little sprinkle of something. And not to say that they don't work and, do what they say, but there's a lot, like the burden on our body has become a lot. Like I liken it to what's happened in food over the last decade. So where people just didn't really look at ingredients and didn't like process that something hydrogenated was going to affect them if they ate it for 10 years. It's the same thing to me in beauty, and a lot of brands and people and kind of pioneers in that space have kind of followed what was happening in food.
So you've become, instead of our food nutritionist, you've become our skincare and body care police, making sure that we use good products and we don't expose ourselves to things that stay in us and perhaps have a residual type of an effect.
Yes. I like to think of myself as the champion for people who are doing a lot of research and innovation in that space.
So tell me about the kinds of certifications that are out there for these companies that are manufacturing clean products.
There is not a lot. I have the utmost respect for regulatory practices and certifications and all of that. I think that the natural beauty world has poo-pooed a lot of that over the years, because if they're hand making something from scratch and it's really gorgeous and it's working for people, and then they get kind of like put into this world that they have to do regulatory and testing and et cetera, it's frustrating for them. But I come from obviously the other side, having gone into this world. So I understand all of how that's necessary, good manufacturing processes, bacterial testing, et cetera. So there's not a lot out there yet. There's more and more certifications. You can do like organic certification, and you can do EcoCert, and there's, Leaping Bunny is one for certifying that you don't have any animal byproducts or animal products. So it's vegan. And there's, by the way, dozens of them across the world, and they all vary a little bit, and they're all changing all the time. So it's sort of like a moving target. But EcoCert is one of the strictest. It comes out of Europe. Its history is in food. So when they started to see that there was this natural beauty movement, actually a company that I work with, Patika Cosmetics, out of Paris, it's gorgeous. The owners of that, their office was next to EcoCert headquarters, and they partnered together to write the guidelines for organic beauty. So EcoCert means that your product has to be organic at a certain percentage. And then there are like hundreds of other things that you need to do. It's from your sourcing to your printing to your office using the right kind of paper. And it goes on and on and on. So it's really a difficult thing to get and maintain. And it's also really expensive. And that seems to be the case with all of these certifications. So you have brands that just pour the money in and get all the certifications and they're good. Or you get brands that are like, I don't need the stamp on my package. I'm going to do what's legal and I'm not going to go for any of the extras. I don't think that any one way is the right way.
It sounds like Europe may be ahead of us in this leap towards good, clean products.
It's different. It's like traditional manufacturing was a certain way, and you had to do all the testing. So FDA, while it doesn't necessarily regulate cosmetics like any of the other countries do, and it's not as strict, there's still certain that you need to make sure that you're not growing mold and bacteria. And, I think that clean beauty is now getting there and not necessarily ahead, but it's like square peg, round hole. Like now they're kind of creating their own guidelines and new certifications are coming up. Like, okay, so you don't grow mold, but is it organic? Is it grown in, healthy soil? Is it sustainable? Is it promoting like villages from where those resources are coming from? So there's so much of this that gets put into the conversation.
And how is the response of the public? What is the public looking for?
The public is a funny thing. I think that the general public understands the word natural and maybe organic now because of food, and not much beyond that. So I think we're maybe a decade or so away from any like lay person in the country who maybe is not like a beauty fanatic and reading blogs and stuff to pick up a package and understand that, oh, this is EcoCert organic. I understand what that means. Or this is Leaping Bunny. I understand what that means. I think we're probably pretty far from that.
So not only are you educating the retail stores to bring on better products, you're also educating the public to stop using things that aren't necessarily good for them or as effective for them, and to use products that are cleaner and more effective.
Agreed. And by the way, this probably at some point in my history sprouted from a place of like having this aha moment that, wow, I'm breaking out and I'm having these issues and I need to clean up my food. I need to clean up my makeup kit. I need to clean up my skincare. And as time has gone on and there's more out there, I've become less militant about what not to use. And I've become much more excited about, wow, some of these naturals just work so much better than what's out there in the typical beauty counter.
So I wish the audience could see you. And we had lunch together a couple of weeks ago. And the first thing I told you was that the skin on your neck and chest is just absolutely beautiful, flawless. I would say I work with plenty of beauty reps who are having struggles with their own skin and are breaking out and covering up the blemishes with makeup, which isn't really, the best thing to do. Your aha moment not only helped you taking care of yourself, but it actually sprouted an entire business.
It did. And it took off like wildfire. I couldn't believe it.
How many years have you been in business?
So I started my company in 2013. So we are at, like 6.5 years at this point.
And you named it Crème Collective. Why?
None of these brands were so big in this space that I could just go work for one and kind of consult for one and then another one. Like it really came from a place of like, I needed to make some money, at least, a little bit in the first. So I thought if I could get a collective of brands together and, put them into a portfolio, they could sort of co-op the price of my services. That was where the word collective came from. And also kind of a cool fancy word for like, a group or a portfolio. Crème de la crème. And then the crème part came from there's so much crap out there. And having been in the industry for, so long, I wanted to get across to people, my customers, which are businesses, that I wouldn't waste their time with crap. Like I'm literally scouring the world and flying to different countries and meeting with people and looking at, little tiny boutiques and trying to find the best of the best.
So what does your passport look like?
It's a lot. Yeah.
What happens when they give you all these products to bring back and experience for yourself? What does your suitcase look like?
I use them all. As an example, I just got back from vacation and I made a commitment not to bring anything in my normal skincare routine, an all new product that had just been sent in the last couple of weeks. So I really do try it all. I use it all.
So tell me, Leilah, how many employees did you start out with 6.5 years ago? And what are we up to now?
I started out with yours truly, just myself in a guest room and the blessing of my husband and my family to take this leap and leave a paycheck. Yes, he's incredible. And it was myself for about 6 months. And then I realized like, wow, I can't get anything done just by myself. There's certain things I need to do and I definitely need some help. And I brought on a friend. Her name is Darcy Evans, who I always wanted to work with. She's got the fire in her and she's just an incredible salesperson. So I brought her on and she's
the first rule of business. Don't ever work with your best friend.
I totally broke that rule. And it has proven to be so incredible. She's now a business partner. She's an equity partner and she is my head of sales and she runs, 50% of my organization.
So how many employees are you up to now?
So now I'm at around 17.
And you're in 3 different locations, I understand.
We have an office here in Orange County around the corner from you.
Yes.
And that's our corporate office where the most people are. We have a satellite in New York in Tribeca. And then not necessarily by design, but totally embracing it, we have 3 people in Portland who all work together.
The new beauty capital.
We're going to make it a new beauty capital. I don't know that it was, but.
So 6.5 years ago, you decided that there aren't enough good products out there being promoted, and you decided that you're going to be the one to put them on the map. Tell me about your first few customers and how did you learn to make a list of non-negotiables of who you will and won't work with?
Well, a lot of tears and a lot of money spent in therapy. We'll start there. Wasn't easy. There were 2 things that I struggled with that I wasn't expecting. I was sort of one of those like doe-eyed entrepreneurial people that like, wow, I'm actually doing something. It can't go wrong. I'm so passionate and the world needs this. And one thing that was a big shift for me was I had always been an employee. So when someone told me to do something, I had to do it. I hadn't honed the skill of how to say no or create boundaries. So that was one thing in my first year that was a real shocker. It wasn't even that I knew to say no and I wasn't saying no. I literally didn't know when to say no. So there was that.
And you ended up working long hours and doing tons of stuff that you were not really thanked for or paid for. It didn't necessarily help you to grow as a company or help the customer grow as a brand.
Absolutely. I was sort of running around doing everything. On one side of that, I think you have to do that to understand what the role is, understand where boundaries go, like if you're starting from scratch. And then also just you start to feel your own worth that like, whoa, this is not okay. There's, 50% of what I'm doing with my days that is not for me and someone else should be doing that. And then this is where I thrive. Where I thrive is where I started to develop the company. But yeah, it's a hard lesson. So, I came from being an employee and then I also just came from not having really developed in the workplace a way to like really be straightforward. Again, wherever that came from, maybe having always just been an employee, I had to do a lot of learning, professional learning, basically how to speak more straightforward and be honest and get stuff done and not sort of like be a people pleaser.
It sounds like perhaps you were pitched ideas that you knew right off the bat, this isn't going to work, folks. And you needed to be gracefully telling him, let's not waste your time and money and my time.
That's one major conversation I had to learn. Also, in those beginning years, I was so in love with people that were creating something. So even if I felt like, ugh, I don't know about this, maybe let's talk to them more. Let's work on it a little bit. I just wanted to help people so much and I fell in love with their vision. I have learned since how to sort of guide them and coach them rather than
be the yes man.
Be the yes man, exactly. Also, my commitment to having the creme de la creme has really no matter how I feel about people, I always have to keep that in mind that it has to be pretty close to, it has to be the best.
So it sounds like you had to do a lot of inner growth. Tell me about the first company that was like your first home run that you just, thought to yourself, okay, I can do this. This is so worth it. And this is viable. And I don't care if you're still carrying because it's kind of like you teach brands how to go from being a baby to a toddler. And once they start walking, your paths may be in different directions.
Right.
So tell me about your first brand that you really had a home run with.
I would say my first brand, which was the first year I was in business, was Mae Lindstrom Skin. She's an incredibly passionate founder. She was making these really gorgeous products from scratch. And she sort of, in my mind, she created the first brand that was very simple in its formulations, but very elegant and luxury in its appearance. And she had a great message, which was take care of yourself and give yourself beautiful bookends in your day that do a really beautiful ritual in the morning, do a beautiful ritual at night, age gracefully. Like she just had a very specific message. And that one I grasped onto and we put it in so many stores. We did incredible things with that brand. And then I helped her build a team that she ended up taking in-house and it has an incredible business. That was one of my first home runs. We had similar sort of skincare companies after that I was able to do the same thing. And then one brand that fell into my lap about 3 years ago is the Beauty Chef, which is really close, near and dear to my heart. It's an ingestible beauty brand. So truly merging people's journey in food and health and internal wellness with beauty on the outside and, skin health, essentially. Totally delicious, totally beautiful. And that one we took from, just a handful of stores and worked with them and guided them over the years to develop their enormous US business that they have now.
Where are they out of?
Sydney, Australia.
Wow. So how do you work around the timeline? Are you on call 24/7?
I pretty much am. So I do my calls with Europe, and I have an Israeli brand. I do those early in the morning, 7 or 8 in the morning. And then at night, I do Australia.
So I remember Beauty Chef because I had the privilege of trying some of their stuff from what you sent me, and really, really interesting products for anti-aging and for gut health.
Exactly. It's fermented. And one of the reasons that this is so near and dear to my heart is that my husband ferments food at home for us, which I thought was super weird when he started doing it. But if you think about it, sourdough is a healthier bread because it's all been fermented and broken down. It's easier on your body. It has these strains of bacteria that are good for your body. Sauerkraut, kimchi, you can ferment anything. You know, we started doing this years ago in my house. And the message of the Beauty Chef is all across the world. In Australia, Carla Oates, the founder, was also doing that same thing as, you know, for thousands of years, humanity's been, you know, doing the same, fermenting food. She was in the beauty world and she started noticing the difference in her skin. So she built the line to mirror that. She picked ingredients that were known to have an impact in the skin, high in antioxidants, high in vitamin C, all the building blocks of skin, and then ferment it down, make it very delicious, and then, you know, incorporate it into your day.
So if someone is doing ingestible skincare, are they also using skincare on their actual skin?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, they work together. It's just, and it's also, it mirrors what's happening in medicine right now too. Like people are really starting to look at the body as a whole thing. It's like you can't do something to one part of the body that doesn't affect another part of the body, whether you want to look at it like that or not. So your food is affecting your hormones, and your hormones are affecting your skin and your bacteria, your biome. Like there's so much happening all the time. So I use powerful skincare. I kind of know what I need to use now to get the results that I want. And at the same time, I'm watching my diet, taking supplements, taking, you know, fermented foods. It all works together.
I was reviewing the brands that you have helped. I noticed that you actually did a bunch of work with Goop. Tell me about that experience.
That was a fun one. And GP, if you're listening, hey girl. But that was a really fun one. So a couple years in, you know, I started the collective just to do sales, and I was doing so much consulting on creative work and packaging, but it sort of fell outside of what I thought I would be doing. And I brought on a partner, Therese Clark, to help me develop out our creative division. And we basically, Therese was on board for maybe 3 days, and Goop fell into our laps. Our contact of mine who I was working with for sales asked us if, you know, do you know a good creative house? And I said, well, guess what? We're a creative house now. So perfect timing. Starting now. And Gwyneth Paltrow had launched the Goop editorial site, and she wanted to move into creating her own products. So she had a skincare line that she was developing with Juice Beauty, which is a natural products line out of San Francisco. So they had this collaborative skincare range, and they had done the packaging and the formulas, and that was about it. And they commissioned us to do the ad campaign, the photography, and sort of give them a platform for which to launch more brands like that they wanted to eventually do in-house. And now, you know, what is it, 3-4 years later, she's got a clothing brand and a supplements brand and a bath brand and a this brand and that. Like she's the master of lifestyle.
All under the brand name Goop.
All under the Goop brand, yes.
The packaging it looks very simple, but yet it's so sophisticated. It's this black and white. It looks like an old font to me. Was that all there?
That was there. We took that. We had the formulas, we had the box, we had the logo, yes. and that was it. And from there, we worked on how does Gwyneth Paltrow, who's such a polarizing figure and such a pioneer in wellness, how does that translate into a beauty brand? What direction do you go? And I think a lot of people saw her cookbooks and saw her out in her farm and kind of wanted to take the direction that way. But we went a whole different way. We thought, like, we need to embrace this black and white. This needs to be the Tesla, not the Prius of naturals. And we essentially went like really edgy and kind of a little tongue in cheek with the messaging and the campaign verbiage. We wanted it to kind of rise above at that time what was still happening in natural beauty, which was a lot of kind of farm to face. Mama mixed it up in her kitchen and she's selling it at the farmer's market, and then a store calls and all her friends call and then everyone wants it. Like, that's not the story of Gwyneth Paltrow. So we wanted to take it and give it kind of the elevated branding that it needed.
And you helped put it in multiple stores?
That one, no. So that one, it was only a digital launch. So what we did is we did all the creative services and then handed them a package, and they marketed it digitally. So she's an e-commerce. So this was an e-commerce only launch. And then eventually they put it into some stores, but this was a creative only job for us. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Lady Sweet, which is the line that Therese and you developed, and it's an intimate line. Very interesting. So Lady Sweet, tell us all about it.
Well, first of all, there's like no part of the human body that we don't touch now with product. And I cannot take credit for Lady Sweet at all. My partner, Therese, has been so interested in the vagina since the minute that I met her. I said the V word, and this woman has taught me to not be ashamed to say that word and the word vulva. She like had to drill it in my head over the years, like not to be shy about that.
Now, Therese, just a world of knowledge and wisdom. She's been in the beauty industry since she was like 2 years old, I would say.
Pretty much. She's so incredible. She's so experienced, and she has, I feel like, one of those genius gifts that she just knows where something belongs and what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong and how to fix things up and how to connect with people. And it's a gift.
Sees the trends before they get here.
And not from a place of trying to chase what's next, but always from a place of like real authenticity and knowing what needs to be done. She's really incredible. So for her, she was battling with the lady parts issue, which is we don't talk about it. We're all shy of it. And then what does that do to our self-esteem? What does that do to like our inner thoughts? Do we think ours is ugly? Do we think it's great? Is it a sex thing? Is it a personal care thing? Like, she just really wanted to kind of dig into that area of the body and kind of let all the rest of it unfold as we start exploring, like, what does it mean to be a woman and take care of yourself? And it's been a wild ride. But Lady Sweet is a brand that is designed to essentially care for the vulva. That comes from a health perspective and also an aesthetic perspective.
Wonderful. So what are you excited about now? What are you working on now that may be up and running or maybe in the pipeline and not on your Crème Collective website?
We are always cooking up a handful of things behind the scenes. It's a good question. I think in the day-to-day, there's a lot that I love about taking a visionary product and a visionary founder, and where they're running into challenges connecting with the end consumer, bridging that gap, whether it be creative exercises or coaching or, reworking their strategy. So that's in the day-to-day that's why I get up in the morning. In terms of like an actual nugget for you to sink your teeth into, I think I am really loving, and I know this is not new in the last year, but I'm loving digging into new plants. Marijuana, cannabis plant. Pot now is totally legal in the state of California and is continually being decriminalized. And aside from just getting high, there are that is a really, really active plant that can do so much. And we're just starting to learn about terpenes, which are microparticles, I guess you could say, in essential oils that do a lot of driving of product drives actives, absorption, and scent. I mean, it's all natural coming from different plants. So basically you take the plant, you extract out the oils, and then you extract those down and get these like really beautiful little pieces to kind of build something from scratch. So I'm loving that. And the cannabinoids and all of the actives in cannabis are incredibly powerful. And then in that cannabis family, there's those other types of plants that are also like, out there to just be discovered. So there's still, we think we know everything about plants and we don't, not even close.
So it sounds like you're getting your biochemistry degree.
I think I'm getting a lot of degrees actually. Yeah. But definitely that, which it's so helpful to have had time in medical skincare because we had the best training. I learned all about the skin, all about DNA receptors, all sorts of that, like really drilled down, things that are happening in the body. And so when we look at plants now and how those react in our bodies, it sort of makes more sense to me.
Where do you see the skincare business going in the future? Are we all going to have like a Jetsons type of a mister after our shower? We like stand in front of the mister and it sprays us with whatever each part of our body needs? Or how do you envision this field moving forward?
It's funny. I think that as high tech as we go, it's still the simplest things that matter. I mean, and I just came back from a trip to Sedona, Arizona. So I was like in the stars, in the vortexes, in the red rocks, in the creek. And you're so connected with nature and our bodies are made from that, So as techie, and we all love tech and we love all the innovation, but I feel in the future, just discovering what we have at our fingertips already is really where the work can be done.
That's a really positive outlook, and I love that.
Thank you.
So what's in store for Crème Collective in the future? You're already partners with so many amazing retail stores like Net-a-Porter and Barney's, Revolve, all these big brick and mortar places. But are you going to partner with one of the big beauty or cosmetic brands in the future? Or are you what they want to see out there, or are you a nuisance to them?
That is such an incredibly good question. I think that anytime there are people disrupting an industry, you're a nuisance until they realize it's not going anywhere and they need to get on board. And then all of a sudden you're really valuable. So I think that, I certainly can't take credit for all of the, thousands of mostly women and some really good men across the globe making beauty products that don't subscribe to, the rules that have been in for 100 years.
The rules being fill it up with just very little of the actives, have it look good, smell good. And if it works, well, that's just, the cherry on the cake.
Yeah. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But the advertising is telling you that because you lack something like clear skin or freshness or whatever it is that you lack, almost always directed at women, by the way, that you need to buy this product. And we all know most of it doesn't work. So I think that, because all of these people have started to turn this industry around, and the industry just in the past couple of years has responded. Like when I started, I never thought I'd be able to sell a 100% organic internal supplement to Sephora across the country. Like that, I can't believe how far we've come. But I think now the big beauty players have realized that, okay, this is the future. So we've got to get on board. And now it's like a mad rush to find what is the best and who they should be putting their money into and they should be watching. And yeah, it's crazy out there right now. It's like the Wild West.
Wow. So they might actually want to partner with you and facilitate what you've already started.
Yeah. And we do partner with some of them now on a consulting basis and helping them with creative, helping them with, guiding this area, the space in the industry. And I think that, I'd probably like to connect with a few of those types. And there's so much you can do with money and resources. So I would love to see some of the brands that I love most be able to truly become the future with all the resources of, a company that has been around for a long time behind it.
That's happened in the fashion world. The big brand names like LVMH or the Gucci group, own many of the small brands who are brilliant designers, but didn't have the resources to move their brand along as fast as it's now being disseminated globally just by collaborating and becoming part of something much bigger. We're going to send you all sorts of good karma and wishes and vibes.
Thank you.
So that that happens for you in the future. So my very last question is, do you see some of what has happened in the retail industry? Do you see it happening in the medical skincare industry? And if not, let's do one together, Leilah.
Oh my gosh, I don't see it. I mean, there's something called Clean Clinical out there. I am somebody who uses glycolic acid. I use my retinols. I use my vitamin C's. I use
all the fundamental good.
The fundamental active. Yes, exactly. And I just don't see that there's a need to throw mineral oil into it, or throw preservatives that throw your hormonal balance off. There's just no need for it now. We're too smart. We have too many other options. And people are watching, so let's do it.
On that note, I'd like to thank you for being on our Beauty Heroes podcast and wish you tons of success. So where can people find the brands you're currently working with or get a list of these brands?
So you can go to my website, cremecollective.com, CREME, Crème Collective. We have a page that you can discover all of the brands that we're currently working with. And then you can always send us an email with where to find it. You can buy it on their website or see our partner stores. We have some really cool partner stores across the country.
All right. Well, thank you again and hope to talk to you again in the future.
Thank you.